people getting fired from jobs, girls sent home from school because they have braids. That's not okay.
My hair doesn't have anything to do with my education.
So much of our persona, our bodies, are policed on an everyday basis. It's time for us to push back and say we are more than our hair.
It's not just about hair, and people shouldn't trivialize it as such. This is a national movement. We define professionalism both in school and work.
Earlier this week, Broward County, Florida, became the latest community to ban racially based hair discrimination in support of the 2019 Crown Act. That brings Florida one step closer to joining the 7 other states that have passed similar bans. As black women with natural hairstyles continue to rise to top positions, including within the new Biden administration, it's a sign of hope that black Americans will stop being punished for simply how our hair grows nationally. Joining me now, Dr. Christina Greer, politics editor for The Grio and associate professor of political science at Fordham University, Ashley Shelby Rosette, senior associate dean at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, and Matthew A. Cherry, who won an Oscar for his short film Hair Love. Thank you all so much. I think this is an important discussion. Even as a man who shaves his own hair, we have seen these kinds of battles over African-American hair, not just with black women, but also black men. We saw all sorts of viral stories last year of high school kids being forced to cut off their locks and braids. And I want to show you this statistic. I'm going to start with you, Ashley. The statistic that is just infuriating to me, that 80% of African-American women talk about how they had to change their natural hair in order to succeed or feel like they had to do that to succeed in a job. You just did a study about this at Duke University. What were some of the things that you found in your study?
Sure. So those statistics are definitely alarming. In our research, what we found was that when black women with straight hair, when black women were compared to when black women who I'm a little tongue-tied here for some reason. So basically what we found is that, we found that when comparing black women with natural hair to black women with straight hair, or white women with curly or straight hair, that black women with natural hair were evaluated the most negatively. They were least likely to be selected for a job interview. In addition, because of that, or the reason why that actually occurred is because they were perceived to be less professional and therefore less competent. Now, when you combine what we found with many of the personal stories that you see and read about in the news, it really does suggest that black women, when they are attempting to go and search for a job, that they should be concerned about how they present themselves when they, with regards to their hairstyle. Now, it's not even remotely fair, but unfortunately, it is a reality. Black women may feel as if they need to straighten their hair such that they can actually have a fair shot to get that job. And if they strongly identify with their hair, then that can equate to something that we call being asked to check our identity at the door, to conform to mainstream expectations in order to make other people feel a little bit more comfortable. So on top of all the other anxieties that happen to occur when you're attempting to get a job, this is one additional layer that black women unfortunately must be burdened with. Now, we don't suggest, and those that support the Crown Act don't suggest that the Crown Act is an all-encompassing solution, but it may help to lighten that burden just a little bit.
And Ashley, I want to add, it's not just this sort of emotional, psychological burden, it's a financial burden. It's a financial burden to have to go and spend money and change how God put your hair on your head, if you believe in that sort of thing. With that in mind, I want to go to you, Dr. Greer. I want you to listen to this clip from Joy, the woman who started this show, talking about her experiences with her hair, and I want to get your comments on the other side of this clip.
I can remember going out on assignments, and going to temp agencies back when they had those things, and being told, because I had my hair in these beautiful braids, that they wouldn't even send me out on jobs because they felt that this was not an appropriate hairstyle, and that I needed to straighten out my hair in order to be sent out for work. And this was blatant discrimination. It was perfectly legal back then, back in the day, because we didn't have anything like the Crown Act to protect us.
So, Dr. Greer, when you hear that sort of thing, have you had those kinds of experiences, or do you think it differs because you're in academia and perhaps having natural hair in academia or creative spaces is somewhat more accepted in the minds of sort of white gatekeepers?
Absolutely not, Jason. I mean, the backdrop of all of this is white supremacy, and the sort of overarching idea is institutions. The academy is an institution, law firms, institutions, the medical community, institutions, the media, institutions. So when Black women go into these spaces, I was told explicitly when I shaved my head in grad school, don't do that on the job market. Then I had an afro, don't do that on the job market. Then I had locks, don't do that on the job market. Then I had braids, don't do that on the job market. I mean, the beautiful thing about Black women is that we have so much diversity. We can change colors, we can change styles, but the white supremacist institutions that we are trying to succeed in consistently remind us that something that happens naturally, something that brings us joy, something that makes us feel and look beautiful is not accepted or welcomed many of the time. So I don't think that there are many occupations that are immune to this type of discrimination. We're seeing some progress in New York here. Our Human Rights Commissioner helped pass legislation to make sure that Black women in the city of New York weren't discriminated against, but we have a really long way to go. I mean, when Joy said back in the day, I think sadly, back in the day for many people in small towns and big cities across the country, it was just last week. There's still so many Black women who are still being discriminated against. And the work of Matthew, yes, has definitely helped move the ball forward, but there's still far too many people who see Black women with natural hairstyles and assume all of the negative instances that the dean just laid out for us.
So, Dr. Greer, essentially the career advice you got was, could you just be a little less Black? And that was essentially what they were telling you.
Change everything and you'll be great.
Right, yeah. If you just be anything other than what you are. Matthew, I, as a fan of animation and a fan of your work, a huge fan of your work, of course, Hair Love went viral. It got an Oscar. Now you've got Blue Ivy, who's going to be reading the book. It is an amazing story that you put together. We're going to play just a little clip from Hair Love, and I want to get your comment on the other side about how significant hair is as a spiritual and cultural experience for Black people.
All right, here we go. First, you want to moisturize these beautiful thick curls with a leave-in conditioner, which will also help detangle the kinks. Now, part all your hair into sections and clip it away. You're doing an amazing job. Yay, you did it! That was so much fun. I knew you could do it.
I am under contractual obligation to never get misty-eyed on air, so I'm holding back. But I love that clip so much. Matthew, what inspired you to tell that story, and what kind of reactions have you gotten from Black men and women across America for talking about how significant our hair is in our community?
To echo the points that everybody on the panel is making, our hair is our personality. It's who we are as people and individuals. And, back in 2017, when we did the Kickstarter campaign for Hair Love, there felt like there was a bit of a void, especially in animation. You didn't see a lot of Black representation in that space, especially natural hair representation. It's a huge issue in Hollywood, especially with, Black actresses. A lot of times, these sets aren't really set up for them to really thrive, wearing their natural hair. And sometimes they have to, go and spend their own money off hours to get their hair done because these, makeup artists and, hairstylists aren't really prepared or, qualified to really do their hair in a real way. And so, for us, this short film really was just about trying to get a lot more representation and showcase that, little girls and, dads are present in their kids' lives and everything. And, we just really wanted to put something out there that, showcased Hair Love, quite literally. And, the reactions have just been incredible. I feel like every day I get tagged in, images of, little girls holding up the book and, I'm like, oh my God, she has my same hairstyle. Same thing with the short film and, dads really get involved now and, doing their daughter's hair. Obviously it's not a new thing, but just really making it normal and showcasing that, everybody is, hair is such a communal situation, and we all need to be involved. And I think the more that you see people like the Issa Raes,
Right.
Tracy Ellis Ross, so many mainstream talent that are embracing their natural hair and being on magazine covers and being on these TV shows and movies, it only makes it that much more mainstream.
Maybe just even 8 to 10 years ago, Corinne Jean-Pierre and Simone Sanders' hair would be considered radical for people who were supposed to be in communications. The idea that those women are front and center now is really amazing. We're coming up against a hard break. Ashley, I just want to ask you very quickly, if someone feels like they're being discriminated against because of their hair, what kinds of things would the Crown Act be able to do to protect them? Just very quickly.
Sure, education, such that they know, and recourse, namely that currently companies in more than 40 different states can at will let someone go because of their hairstyle. And so what the Crown Act serves to do is educate. That's one of the things that I think resonates in Matthew's video, and that's one of the things that should resonate with individuals. Educate yourself about what your company policy is and know what the content of the Crown Act and the reasons behind the Crown Act.
Thank you very much, Christina Greer, Ashley Shelby Rosette, and Matthew Cherry.
Thanks, Jason.
Coming up, how gaming may save your life. That's next.